Hi, Swapnil Bhartia here and welcome to the next episode of Last Week in Tech. Apple announced new Mac Pro and Pro Display XDR last week. With this announcement, Apple proved again that it does care about its core audience, creative professionals like me. I was going through some blog posts about the announcement and I noticed one pattern. The criticism of the machine as pricing was coming from those who don't do any video production in professional capacity. And even if they do, it was very limited. So they were kind of looking at it from a consumer's angle. But that's not what this machine is all about. Here, the pro really means pro. So I was like, hey, you know what? I have evolved from a print journalist to a video journalist, and I do all of my own video editing. I don't walk onto the set with a script written by someone else and then hand over the footage to someone else to edit it. I do my whole editing from the beginning till the very end. So what do I think of this machine as someone who actually does high-end video editing in professional capacity? So let's have a look at it. First thing, the hardware and design. Mac Pro is back to the good old PC-like modular design. It's a beautiful design which I'm sure will be copied by a lot of competitors no matter what people are saying. It's not a skin deep beauty. The design also ensures better airflow. I mean, we know we deal with a lot of thermal throttling with our machines, so we do know how important it is to have better airflow for your machine. So this design ensures better airflow to ensure that all CPUs run at a full speed all the time. At the same time, this design also gives full access to the motherboard for upgradability. Since we're talking about upgradability, let's talk about the specs. Let's do one thing. Let's just talk about the base model because I've seen a lot of criticism of the base model itself. The base model comes with 8-core Xeon processor that runs at 3.5 gigahertz base clock, and it can go all the way to 4.5 gigahertz. That's blazing fast for most of the 4K or multicam video editing. If you're a film studio where you are rendering tons of footage to make a movie like Big Hero 6, then you can go all the way to 28-core CPUs. Well, to be honest with you, you will need more than that. The base model comes with 32 GB of memory, which many will frown at, but actually it's good enough for most video production workload. Most non-linear editors don't demand much memory. The base model comes with Radeon Pro 580X GPU. It's the same GPU that is powering the 27-inch iMac. iMac, not iMac Pro. So if you're doing any video production and rendering your footage on this machine, then this GPU is not powerful enough for that kind of workload. I mean, you can get some video editing done, but if you're buying a Mac Pro, then you need something more than that. So if you really want this machine for any serious video production, you will have to upgrade to at least Vega Pro 2 card. Now, since it's a modular design, so you can actually go out and buy any supported GPU and plug it to the PCI slots that are there in the card. But Apple has done something even more interesting. Apple has introduced something called MPX, which is an optimized solution for GPUs. It extends Thunderbolt ports, which is like USB-C ports, for video out and connectivity. Of course, with MPX, since they're working with AMD, these GPUs will be optimized with drivers for video performance, especially when you're using tools like Final Cut Pro. I mean, if you look at Final Cut Pro, it's already light years ahead of Adobe Premiere. I actually switched from Adobe Premiere to Final Cut Pro because it's much more efficient. And because of MPX, there will be many opportunities for third-party vendors to add more functionalities to the machine. The really game-changing component of Mac Pro, which almost nobody is talking about, is Afterburner. Those of us who mostly deal with video content, Afterburner is like a blessings in disguise. It takes over all the codec processing, so the CPU is free to churn footage without any drop frame. It doesn't matter which camera you use. All cameras compress the footage so that they can save storage, and then it is decompressed. That's why codec actually stands for compression and decompression. So you use codec so you can compress the file, so the file size becomes smaller, and then you decompress the whole file so you can get access to the raw footage. That's how it works. And that is a very resource intensive process. It really brings the CPU and GPU to its knees. And that's where Afterburner comes to help. Now, since we're talking about storage, the base model comes with 256 GB of SSD. Now, many would say, why only 256 GB of SSD on Mac Pro? That's not enough for film production. Well, I have yet to meet a professional film editor or graphic artist who keeps their footage on local machine. And if you're doing that, stop it now. Never store your footage on local machine. If your machine goes down, you will lose footage. Footage is more important, more valuable than your machine itself. In my case, I use 2 local Linux servers to store all my footage. I connect it with my Ethernet port, and that's how I work on my project. And that brings us to the second point, which is actually network card. Mac Pro comes with 2 10 gigabit Ethernet cards so that I can very easily work on my projects. So don't worry about SSDs that much. And if you do need additional storage, you can always upgrade it. Mac Pro has 1.2 kilowatt of power supply, which means you can add as many components as you want. It has 4 USB-C ports, 2 on top and 2 in back. A lot of people are criticizing it, but I'm glad that Apple was thoughtful enough to put 2 ports on top, because my Mac Pro will sit under my table and I often plug my SSD or any other USB SD card reader into the device. I really hate going all the way back to access those ports. I like everything about it. What about the cost? A lot of people are saying it's very expensive. And to be honest with you, only those who don't do any real professional video editing are calling the base model super expensive. Folks like Linux Tech Tips, they're doing paper maths to calculate the cost to be around $3,100. They are ignoring the cost of Afterburner, MPX, motherboard, and all the research that goes into these kind of machines. Also, don't forget that not all hardware is same. Professional grade hardware is priced differently than consumer grade hardware, and what he was looking at was consumer grade hardware. Even in that case, just look at the PC world. First of all, you cannot find a machine that is that powerful. Even if you go and find a machine that is that powerful, it will go beyond $7,000 for the base model. Just look at Dell Precision 7920 Tower. It costs over $7,000 without any hardware that is optimized for video production, any dedicated codec card or MPX-like solution. It's just stock PC, that's it. So I don't think Mac Pro is expensive. Most of the people who are looking at it from a consumer PC's point of view, and they are way wrong. They don't have any clue what they're talking about. So am I going to get one? Yes. But not now, because I already ordered a iMac Pro, because I actually placed the order before that. And this machine, I am not sure even if it will be available by December, and I cannot wait that long because I have a lot of projects to be done. But I have bought it on Apple lease, so as soon as the lease is over, I will be upgrading to Mac Pro. When I'll be placing my order for Mac Pro, I will certainly be upgrading the GPU, the RAM, and CPU. I'll get at least 10 core of CPUs. Anything more than that, I don't even know if Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere can take advantage of it. So that would be just throwing money away, because I'm not doing a lot of multiple tasks on this machine. So if I'm not wrong, if I add the upgrade that I need to this machine, I'm looking at a ballpark of $10,000, which is still cheaper than most video production systems, where you cannot expect the quality, you cannot expect the support that you get from Apple, and you do not get any optimization between hardware and software. You can just pit Adobe Premiere running on a random PC versus Final Cut Pro running on iMac Pro or even MacBook Pro, and you will see the difference. So here's my conclusion. Mac Pro is a perfect Mac for who need it. It's not for everybody. It's not for you if you don't need it. If you're shooting from your iPhone or a $200 camera, and if you can edit that footage on your iPhone itself, you do not need this machine. This machine is for those who are doing some serious video production work out there. Now, serious doesn't mean making a Hollywood film. Serious workflow also means something that I do. As I said, I shoot in 4K with log, with multiple cameras, and that footage is way too big to be processed by average PCs or Macs. That's why I'm upgrading to iMac Pro. If this device was announced earlier, I would have pre-ordered this one. And I will be upgrading to this machine, as I said. Or if you're making, mini documentaries or mini films, even we make mini films, we make mashup films where we go out and do a lot of B-rolls. They are 4K in 60 frames per second. They're all shot in 10-bit and log. That needs a lot of processing power. So you will need this machine if you're doing that kind of work. But once again, that's not the kind of work everyone is doing. So if you're asking a question whether this machine is for me or not, this machine is not for you. And if you are doing that kind of video production, you already know this is the right machine for you. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next time.